thank you for joining the Clarity and Purpose Show, where cause-driven business leaders share what you need to know to align your purpose and your team. They'll drop wisdom and knowledge about why they lead, what challenges they face, and how they remove the barriers that keep them from growing. Our guest today is an influencer, a Christian, husband, an avid runner, and storyteller, helping people get comfortable with the discomfort. He loves helping people find their why and learn how to unlock their potential to get them to their goals. He started an organization called Hangry, where they serve those living with the issue of hunger, helping people get upset that there are people that don't have food. We already know he's awesome, but we can't wait for you to meet our guest today. Join me in welcoming Jonathan Flores. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, man. I know we've made a random connection, but now here we are today, and just kind of even following a little bit of what you're doing. You're making an impact in multiple areas around the U.S., and you've got a following of certain influences that you do. Excited to have you on and share some of that. But we just jump right in, man. We jump right in with the core and purpose behind our show is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question, because that's kind of the pinnacle of everything that is people. You know, we need to know what our why is in order to kind of direct us in our how. And really my why is I just want to kind of just be the light, if you will. I want to make a difference in the community however I can, whatever that means, whether that means hosting a show and changing someone's mind about some way they were thinking, or is it feeding people that are living with the issue of hunger in our community. What does that, it's not really about how I end up doing, but as long as I'm kind of pushing forward with that, it's all about like the helping. It's the big picture for me. And in doing that, like kind of, and we've talked about before, is like this idea of like getting comfortable with discomfort kind of things, like pushing myself. And that's a part of the why, knowing that I can't just limit what I do. I need to kind of push it to continue to grow.
What are some exciting ways that's happened recently?
I would say launching Hangry. We launched Hangry as a 501c3 earlier this year, and really with that, like all of the challenges that happened, we've been doing the Hangry Race Series is what it was called before. We did that for 5 years. It's like, hey, I got this in the bag. I know exactly how all of these things work. And then you're like, oh wait, there's how much paperwork, and there's how much like just little things I have to do, and it's like, okay, no, there's a bigger purpose. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than the issues that I might have to face with it. There's so much on the line for it.
Yeah.
My wife said when we were doing the paperwork, we were kind of waiting for stuff to come through. And my wife had this great point. She was, people living with the issue of hunger, they're not waiting. So why are we waiting to kind of get involved and push forward? And so that was like a kick in the butt going, okay, nope, let's do something about it. And it's, again, pushing that line to go, how can I get a little deeper in whatever it is? Let's grow a little deeper to make a difference for those.
Yeah. So, and you see that, well, I guess, how would you describe your why being used in Hangry? Like, how is that being displayed in your organization?
That's a good question. Really, obviously, the idea of helping people, Hangry, basically, we're flipping that definition on its head. We're angry for those living with the issue of hunger. Not usually how people think of Hangry, but with that, it's helping people and kind of driving there. But at the same point in time, it's kind of getting me a little uncomfortable with the unknown. There's a lot of times where we look at people that maybe less fortunate than us in a situation that they didn't want to find themselves in, or whatever the case might be. And we can look and kind of feel like, I don't know, like puff up our chest. I talked about this with our life group last night. We have this idea of like puffing up your chest that I'm better than someone. And it's really like a humbling thing to go, you know what? I'm no better than anyone. And this exactly is the reason why. We've seen it just this year, obviously, with everything that happened with COVID last year. People are going through food pantry lines that never would have ever dreamed that they were going to have to do that, because, most of the population that's in this situation is one paycheck away from having to go to a food pantry line. It's not that they made horrible decisions in life. It's just how circumstances played out, and this is the situation they're in. A lot of people think the only people that are hungry are the homeless people, which is obviously not the case. People have to choose. Am I having a roof over my head, or am I going to eat? And, in Columbus, Ohio, even though it's April or whenever this is coming out, now that I say that, the horrible podcast thing. You say the dates and you're
Yeah. It was like, oh, great.
You're like, oh, great. Now we can't post that part. No. It snowed last week. We had like 3.5 inches of snow, and like, this is stupid. This makes no sense at all. But the people are like, hey, I need a roof over my head. And that's what I need to pay for to do because of these circumstances. So kind of to wrap around to your question is my why of helping people and kind of pushing myself past that limit is going, I have more in me that I can provide to others, and I shouldn't hold that on to myself. I should be giving that in any way that I can.
That's really good. So you spoke to it a second ago when, just the paperwork behind getting an organization started. I'm sure people that are watching this, we have a lot of cause-driven leaders that are on the show, and they're like, oh yeah. So what are some big things that get in the way of making that a reality and making, obviously for Hangry, but in making your why a reality?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times I think we limit ourselves. We put these kind of barriers on ourselves, and it goes back to like get comfortable with discomfort. I'm like a circle here. I keep coming to the same points because it hits home for me, really.
Yeah.
Is we limit ourselves. That's most of the limits are self-imposed. So when we feel like I can't do something, I kind of take a step back and go, why can't I? There might be a real reason why. Like, no, Jonathan, you can't run in the highway because you'll get hit by a car. Like, okay, that makes sense. But just because you told me I shouldn't or I can't do something, I'm not taking that at face value. And I think asking that why question of why can't I do something, or why doesn't this improve my life or bring things forward? Why doesn't that happen? And instead of just taking everything at face value, you realize you're capable for about so much more than you ever thought. If you would have said, like with my running, running marathon and longer in all 50 states, if you would have told me 10 years ago when I ran my first marathon that I'd be, 40 something marathons deep and 39 states in, I'd be like, you're crazy. I just saw an update today on like my Facebook feed that was like state number 17, and that was 4 years ago. And it's like, these things are just like crazy to me, but I didn't believe people with the naysayers of saying you can't do this. You keep pushing forward because we can definitely do a lot more than our mind thinks we can.
Wow. And I was going to allude to that. You spoke right into the running. So I'm sure that relates so much in just the physical side of you pushing through a run like that, or doing so many. Like, I'm blown away, like when you say marathon, I'm trying to work on a 5K over here, and I'm like, wow, okay, let's run every state a marathon. Okay. My father-in-law, he loves to run, and he's trying to get me more active in that way. But yeah, even just to get into a 5K for me is that mental, you're blocked, and I'm having to push past, like, no, I can do more. I just have to want to.
Yeah.
And
you can definitely do that. And what ends up happening though, and I tell people all the time when I say like I run marathons, and that's usually that exact thing of like, I'm working on a whatever distance. Whatever you're doing that's right for you, that's what's for you. You can't live somebody else's dream, because that's the other part of knowing your why. Because if my why is just associated with somebody else's, then I'm not running my race, if we want to use a running pun. I'm not running the race that God set forward for me to go through. If I'm doing what other people are saying, this is what deems successful, this is what makes it seem if you accomplish the goal, is if you do what these people are doing. It's like, no, I make my own goals and I make sure they're hard enough that I have a chance to fail. That's
awesome. Okay, so let's go a little deeper. This is the part that people love, because it's like, all right, what are you doing that's getting in the way? Like, how are you getting in the way? Even personally, I know you spoke to it and things that you're learning, pushing past. But what are some practical things on a daily basis, weekly, that you're like, I'm hindering getting in the way of my own why?
Yeah, I think it's the comparison game. Like I just kind of alluded to, is I see a lot of people doing things, and I'm wondering why they're getting it and I'm not. Why are they getting traction? Why isn't Hangry Social blowing up like I think it should? Like, why didn't my TikTok get 20,000 views? Those kinds of like little, like, they're really stupid when you really think about it. But a lot of that mindset of this comparison of I have these big dreams for Hangry, where I want Hangry to go and the impact I want us to make. But in the end, I have to realize it's not about me. Yeah. It's not about Hangry. It's about those living with the issue of hunger. And that's our purpose. And if we kind of separate from that, and I start making it of, I want Hangry's name to be bigger, I want my name to be bigger in this, that's never going to win. I tell people all the time, like, I'm the executive director of a nonprofit that makes $0 from this nonprofit. There are no employees other than me. All the money goes out the door. And we help organizations, not for our own name. Literally tonight, we're volunteering at an organization in downtown Columbus called the Columbus Dream Center. And they just needed volunteers. So we said, okay, we're going to bring Hangry volunteers. Our name's not associated with it. We're not going to get any recognition for it, but there's a need and we're going to fill it. And
that's good.
When we can kind of get out of that mindset of I need to do what everyone else is saying, then you can kind of push forward and realize it's much bigger than your thoughts, because there's a lot at stake, like I said.
No, that's good. I see that a lot. People that are blowing up or have all the followers and all that, it's usually started because they were selfless and that wasn't their goal. And I think when you when you try to achieve it that way, obviously it's not working, but it speaks to something we talk a lot about. We use Donna Miller's story brand in our marketing, and it speaks to you're the guide and they're the hero. So that's why we love working with nonprofits and people that are making a difference in the world, because we're having to lower ourselves and go, great. It's all about the impact we're trying to make. It's all about the company or the people that, in your instance, that need food. And like, there's someone in our neighborhood that needs food. Who is that person? It's not about, oh, look at me, I've got this organization, or I'm trying to do this big thing, or I looked at y'all's, you're wearing some of it. I looked at some of the apparel. I'm like, yeah, cool hoodie, like that's neat. But it's not about that. It's to create awareness for what you're doing. And I love
that's
that.
The interesting thing with merchants, like you said, a lot of people see it like, okay, you're a clothing brand basically trying to make money. And it's like, no, I'm not. But if someone buys this sweatshirt, it makes 20 meals for families in America through qualified apparel. It does all these things. And then you realize, wait a second, okay, there's, comes with a hang tag from our folks at Qualified Apparel that print our shirts that tells them the impact they're making. And it's like, okay, wait a second. Like, it takes you a step back and realizing there's a bigger purpose to this.
Yeah.
Yes, I design all this stuff and I absolutely love it. And it's super comfortable and everyone should go buy some. But the purpose of it is it starts that conversation. And if something as simple as a sweatshirt or a t-shirt allows you, we have it all the time. I hear stories from people that buy our gear. They're walking down the street and someone says, that's a really cool shirt. And you're like, well, let me tell you what it means. Because like, usually it's, oh, I'm hangry. Oh, I haven't eaten lunch or whatever.
Ready to eat some lunch.
Well, let me tell you what we mean by that. And when you kind of do that, it hits a little different. And then it lets people know what you're doing and kind of the impact you're trying to make. Again, it's about breaking down barriers. And if it's something as simple, like I said, making a sweatshirt, it's definitely bigger than that. But if it helps start the conversation, I am not above it.
No, it's good. And speaking of that, I mean, we're always trying to promote what's going on our show. And we want, like, if you're listening and watching, we're going to put all the resources, things you need to know in the notes below, by the video, the audio, wherever you're at. So click, buy some merch. Make sure you're supporting what Hangry's doing. But Jonathan, let's talk this last piece of our show, right? We've got these kind of 4 parts where we'd like to walk people through, is really, what is it you need to stop doing? Like, what's something you've realized lately? I need to stop doing this to make a greater impact. It's
a combination kind of everything there of the opposite of the why and kind of what I have been doing. But this idea of going for the big wins without paying attention to the small wins. I know we talked about some of this stuff before, and I forgot some of the things I said before. This is just coming to the top of my head right here.
No, it's good.
This idea of these not worried about the biggest picture ideas of like, I need to get to this goal. Like, our goal is to get Hangry in 5 cities by the end of the year. That's great. That's an awesome thing to accomplish. However, like, I need to focus on today. I need to focus on the small building blocks
that are
going to lay that foundation. And I think a lot of times we do it. I mean, listeners, you guys know it as well. No matter what area of life it is, whether it's business, personal, whatever it might be, if you don't have that solid foundation and build upon that, you're going to crumble at the top. You can't just go skyrocket. To your point, the people that have 1 million followers more than likely were selfless or put in the work in the front end to get to that point. And it wasn't what their purpose was. It just inherently came that way. And that's the thing I'm trying to understand. Is I was on a hustle grind. I'm like, 3 Instagram posts a day. We're going to post on Facebook every single day. We're going to use the 30 hashtags. We're going to tag everyone. And then I'm just like burnt out. I've got like 2 calendars and just trying to manage all of my social media posts. I'm like, for what purpose? For the 10 likes that I'm getting? That's and really, what are likes? Likes are really just for me to feel, get some validation of what I posted. That doesn't mean anything. I can have 10,000 followers on Instagram, but if I'm not making a difference in the community, I'm useless.
That's good. So yeah, that's really good. So I'm thinking about so many things we can talk about in that alone.
Preachy, and we can't.
Yeah, that's another podcast. We'll have to come back.
100%.
So, is there anything else that you want to add? Because to me, like speaking to the big picture, like yes, we set goals in our company, right? Like we have big goals in our company and things we want to accomplish, but it's like there's day-to-day things that we need to do that are making an impact today, and I love that. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience that's on your heart?
No, I mean, I think along those lines, like since we've been talking about it now, it's just like, again, Preacher Jonathan's coming out right now with this stuff, but this idea of kind of running your own race and knowing your own why. I think the premise of the show and how you guys break it down is such a great idea, because without your why, you'll never figure out the how.
That's good.
Or the how is going to be disconnected from your actual being, and you're never going to really get to that point. You really need to take a deep reflection and an inventory of kind of what you're passionate about, what brings you joy, not this fleeting happiness, not what the world considers success, but what brings you joy, what kind of drives you, and how can you cultivate that to help others? Because this life isn't about us. We're meant to help other people. We've been given circumstances and resources and all of that to serve people in some way, shape, or form. Everyone has an influence on someone. So are you using that influence for a positive message? That's
good. Man, we believe a good podcast is one that brings value, and you've just done that. Here we go. We've just given y'all a little taste. See what I did there? Little taste. So y'all need to go check out Jonathan. We're gonna put all his links to go connect with him outside of this podcast, this show, and go check out Hangry. You need to go. I mean, there's things you can do right now to make an impact in people getting the basics, the food that people need. And it actually speaks a lot to what we do in our organization. We have 3 main areas we love to serve and be a part of, and one of those is just the basics of food and water. And that's why I loved when I saw what you were doing. So Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope everyone goes to check you out. But we close it out every week with a dance. So you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's kill this thing. Oh, where's my mouse at? Okay, here we go.
Sure my headphones are nice.
Turn up the music here. It's time for the segment Maximizer. We sent our guest a list of growth items to pick from. Let's see what our guest picked this week to maximize on the show. All right, Jonathan, we're jumping into Maximizer, and you chose for us to do another website grunt test. People love this because it's usually the website that we want to look at first. And we're looking at your header, and what we're doing is we're really just asking ourselves 3 questions. And what that is what it is you actually do, how you can help me, and then what action you want me to take. And if you can answer to that in 5 seconds or less, you win almost every time, as far as at least keeping people engaged in walking down this journey in what we call your sales letter on your website. So a lot of people, they come to the website and they do what we say, it's like it's a capital E or a Z is how they look at the page. So they're looking from left to right, like we read. And when you go to the top here, there's usually a logo. That's great. We've got Hangry. Love it. Makes me hungry. I love that. I haven't actually heard of an organization called that. I still don't know what it is, but most people don't actually say what it is by logo, so that doesn't really matter. So I immediately move my eyes over to the right. Now, people are doing this all in 5 seconds, but I'm slowing this process down. And they go to About, they go, okay, I'm not sure why I need to look at About yet. And you might think, well, if they don't know who I am, they want to go to About. Well, they don't know if it's going to help them. Like, why do you just research you more? There's events. Okay, great. Get involved. Okay, get involved with something. They have a store. Awesome. And donate. Okay. There's a lot going on at the top, which is fine. We recommend actually putting a lot of those things in like a hamburger menu off to the right, and then putting a one main call to action there that you want them to accomplish, so that they aren't spending too much time trying to figure out what the things could be. Then you move down to where you want them to spend probably most of their time, because when they land, they're going to go boom, boom, and get to this middle section here. We are hangry. Great. I am too, because I'm hungry, right? Like I'm ready to eat as well. So what do? Well, we're angry for those living with the issue of hunger in our community. I'll make a quick side note here, just because we see this a lot. People that add widgets and things like your messenger here, which is great. Nothing wrong with that. We recommend not letting that stuff pop up, because it can be a distraction. Sometimes there's too many things on the screen. I would just leave it not popped up when they first land, so that it makes it obvious what you want me to see. We're angry about those living with the issue of hunger in our community. Great. Now I understand there's something deeper here. It's a purpose, but I still don't know what it is you do. So maybe it's, putting some sort of line that could more be in the sub. We like to say the sub is usually where you put what it is you do. And it's, specifically, Jonathan, is it, are we building communities in other states to help donate food? Like, what is it that Hangry's doing? And you don't have to answer that right now. Sorry, you can always jump in if you want. But that's where I would answer that question. And then the we are hangry part, we like to say, if you can use the words not using we and speaking to what I know you're about, Jonathan, it's making someone else the hero in their story. If you can speak to the ones you want to speak to, and I'm guessing based off of what I've done my research on, you're speaking to volunteers and you're speaking to donors. So you want to make sure their story is being told. So how can you help me as a donor be a part of what you're doing? Maybe speak to something that will add value to them in that top line, that makes me want to be a part of it, and then understand, oh, great, this is what you do. And then you want me to what? Donate or get involved. Okay, great. So obviously this is short, this is quick. We're jumping right into a quick little review here. But the idea is that a lot of people just don't make it clear. And you want them to continue to travel down a journey on your site to then donate or get involved. That's what you want. So I would maybe take some time to kind of evaluate, okay, a lot of people use philosophical statements. Story brand, it's a whole journey that can be used to help guide people to leading them to some sort of plan. There's other things you can do on the site with value propositions, where it's speaking to the value you're adding. But at the top, at the end of the day, most people kind of lose interest because there's so much going on and they're not speaking to them. So again, the 3 questions you want to ask yourself: what it is you actually do. It's crazy how many people don't explain what they do. Like, there's someone we just met with that's in lawn care, and they've got a little logo. It doesn't say it's not even lawn care in the name, and that's okay. But they don't say they do lawn care. And I'm like, why don't you say that? So just tell me what it is. We need it simply explain it out for us. And then what it is that helps me. How is it helping me today? And obviously, if it's a product, a service, you want to make that obvious. But for something like nonprofit, it's how I can be a part and feel the joy in doing that. And then what action you want me to take. And obviously, we need to make some money if we're in a nonprofit to be able to make an impact. We need people to get involved, and that's great. I think your 2 call to actions are great. The only other value I'd probably add is make one of them more obvious than the other. Make one button maybe a little different than the other. And then your main call to action on the top right, maybe be donate. Obviously, money is probably a big piece. And then get involved as a secondary piece.
That's why you had donate twice on your first.
Yeah, that's right.
If you missed it one time, it's there again. And
don't miss it this time. Yeah.
There's another donate button.
So speaking to the header, it's good to have other things for them to be involved with, but they'll go explore that when they know you can solve that problem. And that's where we think you could add a ton of value for your site. So thanks for letting us review your site.
Hey everyone, as always, we want to give you some value add tips for your marketing. So today we're going to talk about what your clients or your customers truly want. You see, it's something that we do as business owners and leaders. Our job is to really understand our clients. That helps position us in a way to speak correctly to them and be able to offer solutions to their problems in the best way. So, Jake, have you seen any kind of examples, or what are some thoughts related to, understanding your customer and what problems they have?
Yeah, so we try to outsmart ourselves all the time and go, we have this excellent product or solution that will make this thing better and happen awesome, and you're going to love it, and it has all these features, and when you get it, you're going to be so happy. And we totally forget to start with what do they want, though? But what do they want? So, a lot of times, for example, when you see really good advertising, it ties into some feeling you have or some sort of like aspiration for your life. And it's hard to do sometimes. But like I remember in the movie What Women Want, they were trying to figure out women's shoes, right? And Mel Gibson kept coming up with all these, comfortable shoes and, something that looks, stylish on their foot. And Helen Hunt was like, no, this is her freedom hour. This is where she gets set free. This is where she gets to feel the breeze and know that she is in charge of her life again. And it's just like, boom, mic drop. That's what the woman wants. Yeah. So that we got to think the same way. Yeah. And it's not always easy because we have to talk to the customer and ask them what they want.
And and a level deeper than that, most of the time we assume and we think we know what they want, and you really got to figure out what they truly want. Go talk to your customers, the ones that you love working with, ones that do business with. Figure out what they want. And that is such a key piece. And just 5 of this whole resource. So you need to go download the 20-minute messaging makeover so you can start working on your messaging and start attracting the customers based off what they want. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining the Clarity and Purpose Show. Wherever you are watching or listening, make sure you subscribe to the channel or podcast so you don't miss more growth frameworks from cause-driven leaders. We believe when a business leader aligns their team with their message, they become unstoppable.